Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to my channel, A Purpose Driven Wife. My name is Trista and let's get right into it. So in today's video, I am going to talk about an article that I came across, and it is from Fox News. It was an article that came out around February 20th. And it basically said, Indiana parents warn nation after child is removed from home for improper pronoun usage can happen. And during my research, it's not just happening in the States. This is also happening in not only in Indiana, but California and overseas. I'm currently in Japan, but I saw an article, the same thing happened in Scotland. And so I just want to talk about it. But before I get right into it and just share with you some scriptures that will encourage you to stand up against craziness, evil like this, I want to show you something that Candace Owens said when she did her interview that just really just hones in everything. And I feel like I say that all the time. That hones in everything that I want to talk about today. And I feel like nobody talks about this. Everybody, during this time that she did her interview with Andrew Tate, she said a lot of excellent stuff that nobody else is saying, and I just want to bring to light exactly what this is saying. This is not just based on emotion. This is actual facts, okay? This is facts and not just emotion. So I'm showing this particular clip that Candace Owens did with her interview with Andrew Tate because she hit it right on the nail. And Andrew Tate asked the question, okay, so what do we do? You said exactly what the issue is, so what do we do? Do we ask everybody to be Christian? Do we ask everybody to just, follow a religion because you are following a religion? And she gave an answer that I want to highlight in this video.
Mind frame can be hijacked, because when I'm saying to people, okay, don't do what I want, or don't do what I believe to be good, don't do what God believes to be good, do what you want, I don't care, and then they get in a large enough group and they end up attacking morality.
It redefines, normalcy. It redefines morality. And I recently was sitting down having a conversation with a friend of mine, Brandon, and when I first got into politics, I wasn't so staunchly against homosexual marriage. I didn't speak out on certain things, abortion. And then I saw it firsthand. I just examined just the differences in my relationships with heterosexual couples and homosexual couples. And homosexual couples, I'm talking about two men. You don't realize that God designed a man to be with a woman because it prevents men from giving entirely into the worst components of who men are, just having sex all the time, right? You can't do that. If you're with a woman, okay, maybe it's menstruation, maybe it's pregnancy, maybe it's afterbirth, but there are these natural barriers that make it so that your relationship has to be about something else other than just sex. When I'm with my homosexual friends, they talk about sex. I don't think they realize that heterosexual couples don't just sit down for lunch and be like, we banged 20 times last night because we could. They think that that's normal. So then you talk about how that bleeds into pornography, that bleeds into wanting to talk about sexuality in the classroom, how that might bleed in to suddenly wanting to speak to children about sex and this is all normal. It's actually not normal, but because it's normal in a homosexual relationship, you think that it's actually normal.
Totally right.
And so I have suddenly realized, and this is why I become so staunchly conservative, how it all bleeds into everything. And there is such a thing as objective rightness, and there is such a thing as objective wrongness.
Completely correct. And I agree with absolutely everything you just said. So my question would be then, what do we do? Do we force everybody to be Christians or force everybody to be religious, or how do we do it?
Well, I think the first thing is having the courage to talk about it. And nobody even talks about these topics anymore because they just go, oh, they've won, so we need to let this go. And more you're seeing culturally, people are afraid of being canceled. I mean, what I just said to you is grounds for a cancellation. How dare you question this? How dare you? I even believe now, after seeing the ways in which society has made children believe that they're all trans. I went to university. I went to high school. I didn't graduate with a single trans person. Now you want me to believe 1 in 4 children suffers from identity issues?
This article from Fox News that showcases Indiana parents warn nation after child is removed from their home for improper usage, okay, can happen anywhere. And it goes on to say that parents ask Supreme Court to hold Indiana responsible for removing transgender child from their home. So Beckett, which is the lawyer, as you read, so everything that I'm reading, I'm going to post in the description box, these articles that I'm talking about. Beckett, which is the lawyer, is pursuing the case on behalf of the Coxes, which is the Catholic couple, arguing state courts allowed Indiana to keep the child from living in his parents' home due to their disagreement with the child's gender identity because of their religious beliefs. Notably, upon completing the investigation, the state determined the allegations of abuse against Mary and Jeremy were unsubstantiated, but still argued that the disagreement over gender identity was distressing to their child. Lori Wineham, vice president and senior counsel at Beckett, told Fox News Digital that no parent should ever have to endure keeping a child away from loving parents because of their religious beliefs, even when the state admits there was no abuse or neglect, is wrong and it's against the law. She said the court should take this case and make clear that other states can't take children away because of ideological disagreement. In 2019, Mary and Jeremy's son told them that he identified as a girl, but in line with their Catholic religious beliefs that God created human beings with an immutable sex, male or female, they did not believe in referring to him using pronouns and a name inconsistent with his biology. In addition, the Coxes believed their son was struggling with underlying mental health conditions, including an eating disorder, so they sought therapeutic care for both. But in 2021, Indiana officials began investigating the Coxes after a report found they were not referring to their child by his preferred gender identity, removing the teen from their custody and placing him in a gender-affirming home. The article uses quotes, "Despite the unsubstantiated claims of abuse, they claimed the Coxes made the child's eating disorder worse, even though it worsened after he was removed and placed in a transition-affirming home. Tearing a child away from loving parents because of their religious beliefs, which are shared by millions of Americans, is an outrage to the law, parental rights, and basic human decency. If the Supreme Court doesn't take this case, how many times will this happen to other families?" So I wanted to bring that up, and then you can read more about it. I just read a couple of paragraphs. So this article is from FaithWire, and it says, "Horror as Scottish parents could reportedly be jailed for refusing kids gender transitions." And then it goes on to say, "You think that it was a joke or a piece of satire, but unfortunately it is reality in my country of Scotland." McGlatchy said, "Many people think of terrible treatment and worst case scenarios when it comes to these methods of attempting to change people's sexual proclivities. But while some claim the Scotland proposal deals exclusively with troubling abuses and methods, McGlatchy said it runs much deeper. Although it says that it's about conversion therapy, this bill actually goes much, much further and intervenes in what a parent can advise a child. A pastor can advise a congregant or anything like that," she said. And she continues to say, "If a parent were to more than once tell their child, say their 11-year-old son, that he was not allowed to wear a dress to school and lipstick and high heels and to dress as a girl when he's a boy, you can potentially be guilty of committing conversion therapy, of being coerced, and therefore face a criminal trial and potential prison sentence of up to 7 years." Wow. Also look up the history of Child Protective Services and how it all came about. And so I did a little bit of research, and then there's this article that came up that talked about the different eras and how it got started. And I just want to touch on it a little bit. The history of child protection in America is divisible into 3 eras. The first era extends from colonial times to 1875 and may be referred to as the era before organized child protection. The second era spans from 1875 to 1962 and witnessed the creation and growth of organized child protection through non-governmental child protection societies. The third or modern era, the era of government-sponsored Child Protective Services, CPS, began in 1962. And so basically, as you read down, there was a lot of stories just spanning from 1875 of different stories of parents neglecting their children, parents that are struggling, cases like that were continuously happening throughout the different eras. And so that is why CPS was created to protect the child. Now, in this case, it begs the question, is gender affirming caring? Is that a type of care that this child needs? So with everything that was talked about, let me share with you 2 scriptures. And I just want to close out by saying this. So in 2 Timothy, Paul is saying this to Timothy. In chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, it says this: "But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty." We talked about that. "For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people." Lastly, this is the type of society that we live in. "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for life and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." And that is, I'm going to end with this last statement. Because they said it, we should just be able to affirm their decision, even though their brain is still being developed. I have, personally, a lot of questions on why our government is still affirming delusion. Anyway, I just want to end with that. Everything that I talked about, I am going to link in the description box below. Let me know your opinions and what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for tuning in, and definitely check out my next video on Monday. Have a good day. Be blessed.